Here, my name is Mitchell. In today's episode, I will be talking about how women respond to emotionally unstable men. So I do these YouTube lives every Saturdays at 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. If you guys are watching this on a live, say what's up. Don't be shy. And if you're watching this on a rerun, let me know. Let me know what you think. Let me know what stood out to you. Leave it in the comments below, all right? And then share with your friends, whoever you think will benefit from this. But anyways, let's continue. Let's get started. So our recap episode that I'm going to be talking about today is lead the relationship, but let her pace it. And I'm talking about men in specific over here. Men lead the relationship, masculine men. But let her, feminine energy, feminine girl, right? Feminine woman, let her pace it. Then you could judge, right? Then you could just judge her level of interest, judge her level of attraction based off how you're acting. Because a lot of how she responds is how you respond to things, or how she reacts is how you respond to things, right? So if she says something that kind of tests you a little bit, and guess what? You act all bothered. Yeah. Anyways, I'm going to continue on with this, all right? The slide is on. A woman will say things to see how you will handle it. And that's just the truth, right? This episode was a few months ago, about 4 months ago. So, Cynthia. All right. So, number one, lead the relationship and let her pace it. Woman will say things to see how you handle it. Number one, it's a test. It's always a test. Whether it is or not, it's a test. It's how you emotionally respond to things, right? So when she says something that bothers you a little bit, well, guess what? How should you respond to it, right? Love is playful and fun. So you always want to be in a place of this more grounded, more centered man as you should be, right? Now, I get that life is difficult. Life is not always the way you want it. And there's going to be times where it gets a little bit difficult. But when that happens, the question is, how quickly can you go back to your center, right? Because we operate best when we're at our center, and we operate worse when we're emotional, when we're pissed off, when we want to flip somebody off when they cut in front of you and stuff like that, right? Like, these are certain things that, number one, it's a test. So how are you going to handle it? So don't be unglued. Don't be stifled. Becoming indifferent about it. You're like, it doesn't really bother me, right? Don't take it too serious, because like I said, love is playful and fun. Also, the more you get upset, the more she will continue to press you. This way, this is what reaffirms what she is believing, that damn, this guy doesn't really know how to handle his emotions. Like, what the fuck? And you're basically not responding in the way like you have in the beginning of the relationship. You see what I'm saying? Because if you acted the way you did in the beginning of the relationship, there wouldn't be an end to your relationship. What's up, Buzz? Welcome. So think about it. How did you do things in the beginning? Well, a great question is, it's like, well, it was a lot easier, right? Wasn't it a lot easier in the beginning of the relationship because you're in love, right? Love is in the air. This person's new, right? Everything's brand new to you. Nothing can really mess up. And when you love somebody, guess what? Nothing they can do is wrong. But what happens when the excitement kind of goes down, right? It's kind of like, well, you have certain motivation. New Year's is here. You want to go to the gym. You want to eat healthy. You want to be on a good diet, a good nutritional plan, right? Stuff like that. But what happens when it starts raining and you don't want to go and it's cold? You're tired, right? Those are the days that's going to be way more important, because that reassures your identity. So even if you don't want to go to a gym, or even if you want to like act out of impulse, well, guess what? You have to think about the person that you want to become. Who do you want to be? And how are you going to reassure that so that it becomes part of your identity, right? Just don't breathe it. I'm not always happy. I have moments where I get a little upset, right? Like, things bother me sometimes longer than it should. And when it does, I'm like, dude. And when I'm back into my center, I get to think about it. I get to think like, so why was I pissed off for like half the day? Like, it kind of fucked up my day, right? I was like, why? So anyways, let's see. So becoming indifferent also means that also the more you get upset, the more she's going to press you. Each time you allow it to happen, basically you're digging yourself your own grave, right? So this is why you want to meet someone. Number one, it's easygoing, easy to get along with. Someone that shares common interests, right? Similar goals and similar values. Now that's a lot to ask for, especially in this age, this time, right? Where you can almost meet anyone with a swipe, because like most people, they don't really like show up. They're comfortable sliding, right? Swiping, or, you know, sending DMs and stuff. That's what they're comfortable with, right? Bring some traditional things back, right? If you're a guy and you're this masculine guy, well, guess what? Go for what you want, right? Talk to her. Stop being a bitch. Okay, do you? No, I don't. But you know what? I like compliments. I will always accept a compliment. So thank you. Let's see. A woman would test a man to see if he possesses the traits that she values the most. Is he really what he is, right? And what women value the most is confidence. Do you have that confidence, right? How do you have confidence? Well, by doing things over and over until you get better and better at it, right? And if you're not getting better, then you question, why am I not getting better? What's certain things that I'm doing consistently? What insanity am I continuing, right? Then you gotta constantly ask yourself certain things, right? Now, she wants to know if you're she wants to know if you're ready to invest your time, your patience, and your energy in a relationship with her. Because you have to understand that the moment you get into a relationship, that relationship becomes a part of your responsibility, right? I use that example of, you know, when you have a cat, or when you have a kid, or when you have certain things that goes into your life, you will have to have more responsibility. Just because you got her doesn't mean you don't have to do any work. Like, if anything, you have to do more consistent, persistent work. Okay. Now, because feminine energy is about certainty. They need it. They crave it. They love certainty. So us as guys, what do we have to do? We have to lead, right? Leaders are the ones that lead. They go first. That's all it means. It means you go first. Now with this whole bullshit with the whole red pill community saying like, oh, all women are like this. This is who they are, right? Like, no, that's bullshit. If you really think about it, if all they talk about is what other woman is, they never really talked about how they would grow within themselves. And I'm not talking about your bank account. I'm talking about mentally. How are you going to develop the skill of what a masculine dude is? Instead of talking about how much you make and how good you look on the outside, let's talk about what's being revealed on the inside. Because if you look great on the outside and you have a lot of money in your bank account, but you act and you treat people like shit and you don't understand what being a masculine man is, well, guess what? It doesn't matter how good you look or how much money you got. At the end of the fucking day, she will leave your ass. All right. I know a lot of rich people that are very, very single. Okay. They have fun, but nothing really lasts very long. You know what I mean? What is red pill? You could look it up. I'm not going to get into too many details. But anyways, let's talk about feminine energy, because I talked about feminine energy being certain. They have a lot of uncertainty. So then they seek for certainty. So seeking certainty in guys, masculine men, how to lead it. Feminine energy is about opening up to receive love. It's creative energy. It's bonding. It's connecting. Family, dating labels, relationship labels, allowing other person to lead. What causes her to be in her masculine is when the guy in the relationship, the masculine dude, stops leading. And when he stops leading, guess what? Life fills voids. And when that happens, she has to tap into her masculine. And guess what happens? When she stays there too long, she's not going to like it very much. She's going to be bitchy. She's going to be annoying. She's going to say a lot of things to test you and press you. And the more times you fail it, guess what? Guess what happens? You're going to find yourself eventually being very upset and single. And we all know that being upset, being angry, being hostile, physically and verbally aggressive. These are all fears. Behind anger is always fear. So really think about what you're doing, all right? Now let's talk about masculine energy. Masculine energy is about purpose. It's about drive, your mission, succeeding, accomplishing, breaking through barriers, overcoming challenges, right? And these aren't things that I've said, okay? If you guys are interested, big shout out to my coach, Coach Corey Wayne. Highly suggest you guys read his book, How to Be a 3% Man. I don't know if you see it in the back. It's that blue book somewhere. How to Be a 3% Man. And if you're a woman and you're watching this too, you can read that too, because you can understand what it's like to be a guy, right? Because we're very logical type of creatures, right? Men and women, we communicate differently. So when this does happen, guess what? Men who understands women are loved by women. When you understand them a little bit more, and you could take a step back and be like, this is what she really means when she says this. Guess what? You got the cheat sheet, you got the guide, right? And so yeah, become the person that you want to attract, right? Now, anyways, let's go on. Overcoming challenges, accomplishing goals. It's being a leader in a relationship. It's making things happen. And it's your job as a guy to open up your woman mentally and physically, right? One thing I love, what Coach says is, when a woman feels heard and understood, the legs open. And when she doesn't, the legs close, right? And that's a fact. Because if you could really sit down, like, I've heard so many guys complain. And I was one of those guys too. I complain about, have you ever been in a relationship and she's like not trying to like have sex with you, right? She's not trying to do anything with you. And so, like any other guy would, not knowing anything, I complain. Complaining doesn't get you shit. But the quickest way to get anybody else to change is to change yourself. So once I learned that, I was like, oh shit, I just have to learn and understand her, right? Talk to her, open her up, right? But also, you know what? Take it a little easy on us too, right? Ladies, like, you have to understand that we're very logical creatures. When a guy wants to do certain things and you're like, no, I don't want to do it. Well, guess what? Maybe let him know. Kind of guide him, if you will, right? Let him know, because we don't know everything. So guide him. Let him know. Like, I get it. You just want to go in and just go in. But, you might like a little foreplay. I don't know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But most women, they do, right? Take it a little bit easy, right? Kind of, it's like when you go in to eat, you don't just go for the main course. You got to scale it. And then at the very end, there's appetizers, right? You go for the main course, but there's appetizers, right? So anyways, probably one of the worst examples I've ever given. Let's go on to the meat of the subject, all right? How woman responds to emotionally unstable men. Number one, it turns them off. Never been in a relationship. Well, Buzz, great thing to ask is, are you more masculine or are you more feminine? Which one are you, right? Because if you understand your essence, your true nature of who you really are, and you don't vacillate between being masculine and feminine, if that's who you are, stay where you are. It doesn't mean that you don't have bits and parts of the other, but it just means that you should stay within a realm, right? Of your natural essence. Yep. You can only control and change yourself, right? In your environment, self-reflection is key. Absolutely, Shelby. Absolutely. So, number one, it turns them off. In reality, it turns everybody off, right? But if you're the man and you deem to be the person that's supposed to, number one, hold the composure. And I'm talking about masculine energy, masculine men. Masculine energy is cool. They're calm and they're collected. Like I said, they don't take shit from other people and they don't lose their shit when shit happens, right? They keep the composure. And when you act more like the girl, which is more feminine energy, no girl or anyone will want to tolerate that type of BS, right? Like a grown little toddler. When you're a dude and you act upset and you start yelling and screaming, you are no different than a child in a sandbox and that person doesn't want to play with you or share, and so you're like, then fuck this then, and you start kicking sand, and you grab your shovel and your little bucket of sand, and you're like, I'm not playing with you, I'm gonna go somewhere else, right? There's no difference. So you may have the luxury to treat others like this, but if you constantly display behaviors of incompetency in a relationship, there is no relationship that you're going to have that's going to be sustainable. All right? If you continue to display incompetency, meaning you don't understand her and you don't understand yourself, no relationship is going to be sustainable. So you might constantly find yourself in situations where you have to start all over again, right? And then you're like, well, you know what? It's fine. You know, at least I get hella girl. All right, then if that's the life you want to live, then by all means, you know, like, I'm a coach. I don't tell you how to live your life. I just guide you to where you want to be. So now let's continue. It's a guaranteed way to ruin attraction, right? If you constantly display behaviors of incompetency, it's a guaranteed way. 100% of the time, you will fuck up. 100%. It's a guaranteed way to ruin attraction. It turns her off, and it's going to make her pussy drier than overcooked chicken. Have you ever had overcooked chicken? It sucks. All right, it sucks. It doesn't taste very good. Okay, and then you just like, well, I'll deal with it. I'll settle. All right. Actual relationship. I haven't gotten there yet. So, yeah. No woman can love a man she does not respect. Okay. And if she doesn't respect you, it's usually because of who you are and how you're operating. And if you operate, like I said, in a place of inconsistency, of always displaying behaviors of incompetency, she is not going to respect you as a dude, right? If all you do is scream and yell when things go wrong, and you don't know how to handle shit, and you don't know how to handle your own emotions, guess what? She's not going to want to deal with your bullshit. She's going to find it somewhere else, right? Now, people who lean towards emotional instability, this is what they could have. They could have great qualities. I'm not saying they're shitty ass people. They can be, right? They could have good qualities in them. But not a lot of people want to be around them because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of fucking work to be around them, right? So they're fun one moment, and they're like, oh shit, you drop something, and they start talking shit, right? It's not really fun to be around with, right? In other words, really think about it. In other words, is the juice really worth the squeeze? Is it really? Is it really? Don't you want someone that possesses both? That's fun, that's exciting, that's entertaining, but also at the same time, they're also like, they have great qualities of themselves too, right? They value certain things. They're goal oriented, right? They focus on what they want, and they understand. They're kind to people, but they don't, like I said, they don't take shit, but they don't lose their shit neither, right? You can have both. You don't have to have one or the other. You can have both, right? But that also means that you need to possess that too, which is a lot of work. So I get it. Not a lot of people want to do it. Now, so is the juice really worth the squeeze, right? Someone that only has one, right? If your answer is yes, really think about it. You might need to kind of start asking questions about yourself. Like, why am I still in this? Why am I still in this relationship? Okay. So now, it turns women off, and also you will always be at the mercy of your worst impulses, right? At any given moment, something goes wrong, right? You're gonna constantly display behaviors of you're erratic. You don't know how to emotionally respond to things. You react, and you're explosive. Your behavior is like, it's not fun. It's not fun. So you're always at the mercy of your worst impulses. This will ruin any relationship, not just your partners, not just your significant other. You could lose your job. I've seen people lose their job because they're very good at what they do, but they can't handle their emotions, and that's a liability. You become a liability to the company. So who would want to be around? I wouldn't want to be around that. Emotional intelligence and growth, we love it. Yes. So you could lose your jobs, you could lose your partner, significant other, and it could it will also ruin your negotiations too as well, right? If you act emotional all the time, it's not gonna, who you gonna really, yeah, it's like if every negotiation that I had with people and they're like, oh my God, you're too expensive, and I act in ways where I'm like, what do you mean I'm too expensive? You don't think I'm worth it? Like, no, like this is what everybody pays me. And if you're not interested, that's fine. I would love to like still I want you to be better. So that means that if finance is the number one thing, let me pass you on to somebody else. Let me pass you on to somebody else that might be a little bit more affordable, so that you can still continue to do what you want, right? Because you're paying someone for the time, what they're worth, right? So that you don't have to go through all that yourself, right? Basically, you're spending money to save yourself time. Depends on how much you want to spend, right? And one of the greatest ways that you could do is to find a really good mentor. Find someone that you really, really look up to, and then follow their steps. You can even copy exactly what they do until you develop your own, right? Now, Cynthia, you talked about eggshell relationships. Second slide, eggshell relationships. This is not something that most people, they don't, that's not how they word things, okay? It's an eggshell, okay? I like eggs. Eggshell relationships, but it doesn't mean I like this. Okay. Coach Corey Wayne said, if you act like a bitch, she will treat you like a bitch. If you act like a bitch, she will treat you like a bitch. Look, everybody had bad days. Everybody has bad days. But their bad days are on steroids, and they need or they should seek help. Professional help, if they could. Okay? Living life like this with someone is a living hell. It's a living hell, okay? 1 minute they're happy, next they're explosive, very aggressive, right? And I have a few words. To say few is an understatement. But these are certain traits that people that are kind of like explosive, they're not eggshell, okay? They're not really fun to be around with, okay? I didn't write this. I found it. What was that site? It was on jnforensics.com, right? Eggshell relationships. Okay, so credits to them. Some of the words are angry, they're bitter, they're chaotic, clingy, complainer, and there's a few words that I couldn't even finish myself. Chaotic, clingy, complainer, confusing, controlling, critical, cruel, dangerous, deceptive, delusional, okay, dehumanizing, demanding, demeaning. Can't pronounce that. Desperate, destructive, depressive. They're pretty sad all the time, right? They're always depressed. Disconnected, disorganized, disquieting, draining, drama queen, dysfunctional. Imagine saying all this to someone, right? It's fucking hurt. Emotional, envious, erratic, and it goes in alphabetical order too. It's great. Exasperating, explosive, fear-inducing, frightening, frustrated, frustrating, hysterical, imbalanced, impossible, impulsive, inappropriate, incomplete, inconsistent, irrational, irritable, irritating, malevolent, malignant, mean, mental, miserable. They're moody. Damn the list. Morbid, nasty, perplexing, rage-filled, resentful, sarcastic, scary, seething. You get the point, right? I feel the flow coming. They're tantrums, temptatious, can't pronounce it. Tense, threatening, tiresome, tormented, tormentor, tornado, train wreck, turbulent, right? Uncaring, undependable, unforgiving, right? Unhappy, unhinged, unpredictable, unreasonable, unreliable, unstable, untrusting, vengeful, vindictive, violent. That's a lot. That's a lot. If you have even 10 of these on this list, that's a sign. All right, that's a sign that like I hope I'm not any one of those. Do I get angry? Absolutely. Do I explode? Nope. I try not to. Okay, I try not to. Okay. Anyways, that's just some of the words. Some, just a little, poquito, some, little bit. Okay, of the words that people say about living or being with someone that's living like on eggshells, right? So now this leaves you the feeling of never feeling relaxed around them, having to tiptoe around them all the time, and God forbid you fucking trip and you wake them up, right? God forbid you fucking trip and you wake them up. Unfortunately, married to one of those people. List that had most of this list before. Married? When you say married, does that mean you're still in it, or has there been changes? Okay. Let's see. No amount of goodness on your part will ever get them to change. And number one most important thing in any relationship is that you should never try to change anybody. Never. Don't try to change nobody. Accept them for who they are. But what you can do is you can gently nudge. Like, hey, right? Hey, guess what I'm doing? I'm gonna read a book. Do you want to read a book with me? No? Okay. All right. Let me go back. Gently nudge, right? So that's why it's so important to be around someone that wants to do the same things that you want to do, right? Because then it's a lot less friction. You don't have to like go through everything, right? And align yourself with someone that's very similar to what you like, what you enjoy, right? I can't be around someone that wants to eat like shit all the time, because do I like Taco Bell? Yes. Do I like McDonald's French fries? Absolutely. Do I eat it all the time? Hell no. If I could, I would, okay? If I could still remain healthy, but I can't. So no amount of goodness will ever get them to change, right, Tracy? I've always had walk on an eggshell with my, because I can't get myself around it, and if I do, I ended up. Is this current? Is this current, Tracy? Let's go on. Okay, so you stay as long as you can in this relationship, right, with this person that's kind of like living on eggshells, and then you decide one day when you still have that physical body and you no longer have your soul left. You're like, fuck this shit. You could stay if you want. I'm fucking out. I'm gone. I'm gonna be somewhere else if you want to find me. Your soul is talking to you like, I'm out. You can stay here if you want. And they leave. And they fucking leave. And you're like, fuck. You gotta find yourself again, which is your soul. Okay? Your soul like, holy shit, where you go? Where you go? And then you leave, right? And then you finally leave. So you stay as long as you can, okay? Until one day you decide, that's it, I'm gonna move on, right? And let me tell you this, if you have kids, the worst thing you could do is to stay because you have kids. If the relationship is not progressing, if they're not changing, guess what? They're not gonna change. Nothing you can do will try to change them. Only if they want to change, all right? I'm gonna say that again. Only if they want to change and they want to become better, that is when progress, right? That's how a relationship flourishes. When they realize that there's certain things that they are doing that's fucking up the relationship. So people who stay in unhealthy relationships have qualities, okay? And I'm not trying to point people out, but usually it's because of like low self-esteem, usually, right? Because you tolerate certain things. So whatever you tolerate, you invite more of it. And sometimes you could be a little bit delusional too as well, right? And like I said, this isn't to attack anybody, but this is usually kind of what it falls into, okay? Because number one, they don't think that they could do better. Okay? And it's a mindset type of thing, right? They think eventually they might change, which is delusional to think that someone will change. And especially if you constantly enable that type of behavior, why would they need a change? Everything I'm doing is working. You're staying. Why do I need a change? And just because you leave doesn't mean they will change. So it has to be something emotionally compelling. So you need an emotionally compelling reason to want to become better. All right. Slide number 3. Slide number 3. You have to let her come back when she's ready. I'm talking about you guys, right? Men. You have to let her come back when she's ready. If you drove her away, I don't know what the hell happened in my eyes. If you drove her away and your goal is to get her back, the quickest way to get anybody else to change is to change yourself. Okay? And you want to get her back? Quickest way to get anybody else to change is to change yourself. Now, here's a little kind of caveat to this. The mindset isn't to get her back. The mindset should be to become your most attractive self again, so that you can attract anybody, not just her, anybody. You don't want to be so focused onto one person. I get that you want her back, but your behaviors was the reason why she left in the first place. And it's not a guarantee that she will come back, because if your mindset is, if I do this, then she will be back, you're already thinking from a different place. You're not operating from a place of strength. You're thinking of, I need her back because I'm needy and I need her back in my life so I can feel better about myself. Number one thing is to, one, let her go as she pleases. Remember that the men lead the relationship. Okay, she's just the one that's kind of going to guide you, basically. Okay, so become your most attractive self again. Okay, so that you can attract better people. And if she decides to come back, great. And now all you really have to do, if she comes back, you'll be like, well, you know what, I miss you too. It's great hearing from you. Guess what, are you free next weekend? Or this day, this time, let's go over here, right? And then guess what happens? When you finally decide to change and you decide to work on yourself, you decide that, hey, you know what? These are certain things that I need to develop as a person, as a man, a person that participates in his own rescue, right? You're like, maybe I was explosive. Maybe I was angry all the time, you know? You start looking at like certain things, so your explosive type of behavior, right? It doesn't mean you're soft. It just means that you're just aware of certain flaws that you have as a person, and that's completely okay. Anybody that thinks that they're perfect, stay away. Run for the hills. Red flag number 1, right? Yeah. Reflect. You become better. She's gonna be like, there's something about you that has changed. Not only are you more fun to be around with, you're less angry, right? When things used to be upset, certain things still might trigger her, right? Maybe you had road rage, right? And then like, she's sitting in a car and someone cuts you off and you're like, back then you used to scream and everything. You're like, love is playful and fun, right? So when someone cuts you, you be like, guess what? I'm gonna let him go. And then just talk about certain things that you're gonna do. You'd be like, hey, you know what, we're going here to eat. Do you already know what you want to eat? Have you figured it out? Okay. Hands off my plate. All right. And this is, you can only operate like this when you're a guy and you're centered. Okay. It's hard to operate like this when you're always bothered all the time, when you're perturbed, right? Yep. I had no self-esteem, no self-love. I stayed because of my kids, right? Those 3 things, right? So I'm not making this up. These are the worst things that you can do, right? The best thing you could do for your kids is to leave, how to co-parent properly, right? Never talk bad about the other person, right? Because kids, that's how they learn, right? They learn that it is okay to talk shit about other people, right? You could elaborate certain things about what this person has, but don't talk shit. Oh, this person's a piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. Like, because it really kind of comes back to you. So be careful how you phrase certain things. I didn't know what a healthy man or relationship was. I was young. And guess what? That's the best thing, Shelby, because most people, they don't know this until they really need it, right? Until they really need it. So let's see, what was I at? I went all over the place. Okay. Then if she comes back, right? Set up a time and place, definite time, definite place. So definite dates. But this time you will be in a much better, more improved version of yourself, basically, right? This will help create the foundation for you. This will help create a foundation for you, but you have to really, number 1, really truly decide that you want to change and you want to become better. And what I mean by that is You need an emotionally compelling reason. You look back and you're like, damn, I had all these relationships and every single one of them collapsed. And what was I? Who was I? And how did I operate? And how can I become better? Instead of pointing fingers, maybe that person was a cheater. Maybe that person was a liar. Okay. It doesn't matter. It's not about them. It's more about you now. Okay. More about you. Well, how can I spot a liar? How can I spot a cheater? How can I learn certain things, right? How can I learn to trust people again? That's a huge step in the game, because most people don't want to go back into a relationship because they don't want to trust another person, because they feeling like they might get hurt again. And like what Jim Rohn said, fear and hurt imprisons the heart, right? What you keep out, you're blocking a lot of happiness from coming in, right? Disappointment. If you're constantly being disappointed and you're like, no, I don't want this anymore, you're thinking about it in this extreme end. It's versus being very loving and caring and open, and you're like, no, I no longer want to do this. How can you operate here? That's the best place. So you're not just naively going into it and be like, I'm just going to operate from this, right? Very extreme. And that's something that you should really be cautious of. Being too extreme on one end, okay? Being too extreme. So number one, truly decide. And not be like this type of person. Don't be like this, right? I'll change enough just to get them back, right? Then go back to my original self. Go back to how I was. Screaming, yelling, argumentative, right? Never really agreeing. Yeah. Most people kind of go back to themselves. So really think about going back into a relationship, because that has a lot to do, has a lot to say about who you are as a person, right? Before I found myself in those type of relationships, I'm like, damn, it's much easier to go back into, because I don't have to put in as much work. I already know them. This is how it was. This is how great it was, right? And our minds like to play a lot of games, right? Fading effect bias. When that happens, you have to really think about, what if I went back into the relationship and the reason why I left, or the reason why they left me, and if I didn't change, or if nothing else changed about that person, it's gonna repeat itself again. Okay. And then you get mad and you're like, fuck, I knew you didn't. It's just an endless cycle. All right. Do yourself a favor. Just start learning a little bit more about yourself. All right. Now, change is a mindset. And since you've developed those undesirable habits, number one, you have to, and this is where you create new habits. Okay. Number one, you want to create a new habit, right? Basically, number one thing, how can I reduce the friction, make it a little bit easier, and to make it a little bit more rewarding, right? And number two, you want to acknowledge your old habits, but pair it with a new habit, right? So example is when I used to get very, very mad. Okay. I still get mad. Okay. Emotionally, I still get mad. Like, I'm still a person. When someone does certain things, I'm like, fuck. I just do my very, very best. Hey, you know what? If I want to act like emotional and act like a bitch and start complaining and screaming and yelling, right? Wanting to start a fight, what good would that do, right? Because if you act like a bitch, she's going to treat you like a bitch. So when I get mad, I start telling myself, right? Start telling my old habits, right? I will take a step back and reflect on number one, why am I mad again? Why am I screaming? Why am I yelling? And then I'm going to create this new habit, which is that new habit. I'm going to take a step back. Anytime I get mad, I'm going to take a step back, right? Anytime I get mad and I want to yell and scream, old habit, I'm going to take a step back and reflect on why I'm still upset and why I'm so mad. New habit. So that you're not totally disregarding your old habit. Oh, you can't be mad anymore. Absolutely not. You're still human. Okay. How it's to acknowledge your old habits and pair it up with a better one. That's how you become a better version of yourself. So, and how to develop better habits, right? And this is straight from the book, Atomic Habits. So Cynthia, if you're watching this, this will be great for you, right? The first mistake is never the one that ruins you. Okay, it is the spiral of repeated mistakes that follows. Missing once is an accident. Missing twice is the start of a new habit. So, like, think about it like this in a perspective. Let's just say you're sick, okay? Or no, sick is not a good. Let's just say you woke up one day and you're like, I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Well, if you miss one day, okay. But if you miss twice, like I said, it's a start of a new habit, right? So really be careful. Don't let it happen twice. Just don't let it happen. I told myself in the beginning of the year, I was like, maybe not January 1st, because I was still recovering, all right? Let me have my fun. But January 2nd, I decided, I was like, you know what? I want to start reading again, right? And the goal isn't for me to read again. It's not to read books, but my goal is to become a reader. I am not dancing just for fun. Like, the goal is to become a dancer, right? It's to be good at the things that you want, and it becomes part of your identity, so that you have systems that work towards that, right? And if you read the book, it explains a lot. And I highly suggest reading it more than once, more than twice. Read it 10 times if you could. 10 times. Because if you think about it, if you read a book, you only absorb about 8, 10, maybe 12%. Say 8 to 10% of a book, right? I'm starting for 2 weeks now. I can't stop and lay in bed and get so comfortable, right? Now, if you get sick and life gets in the way a little bit, maybe your family members need a little bit more of your time, right? There's certain things that, you know what? Showing up, whether it's showing up at the gym or showing back up at home, and you know what? Be like, hey, you know what? I can't go to the gym, but I'm going to do some exercises anyways. I'm still going to stretch. I'm still going to do some push-ups, do some sit-ups, whatever it may be, right? Do some of those, right? Going tonight. Last night you didn't go, and that's fine, right? Things happen. Just don't let it happen twice, okay? So if you catch yourself doing this every time, be careful. Also, if you apologize, number one thing, okay? If going back to that main topic, which was you have to let it come back to you. Excuse me. If you apologize, right? You're like, hey, you know what? I'm sorry. I won't do blah, blah, blah again. Don't just fucking say it. Don't just fucking say it. When you apologize, before you fucking apologize, do you mean it? Are you going to? Not, I'm trying. Are you going to do it and commit to that? And the reason why I'm saying that is because if you commit to that apology and you go back against your own words as a dude, okay? And she's trusting you that you're going to apologize and make up with that through action, and you don't, it goes against you, okay? It goes against you as a person. So don't say shit if you don't mean it. I fucking mean it. Don't say it. I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna do my absolute best. And when I do this, and if I slip, let me know. Let me know. That's when you know you mean it, okay? It doesn't mean that you're going to be less than her. It doesn't mean that you're going to tolerate other bullshit, and she shouldn't tolerate any of your bullshit either, right? Because you're flawed. I'm pretty sure she has her own flaws, right? Let her know. Sit down. Take both step back and be like, these are certain things that kind of frustrates me in a relationship, and this is why I can't go back. Well, talk to me. Let me know. Let me understand myself. What were certain things that I've said that I could be better at? And she will lay it out. Don't be upset. Just get better. All right. So, like I said, if you apologize, mean it before you say it. Okay. Make your apology actionable. Okay. There's a huge difference between being in motion and taking action. A lot of people say a lot of bullshit. They say a lot of fucking shit that they don't mean. That's motion. Taking action and applying it, that's true action. That's true change, right? That's how you change. And also is your mindset and why you want to change. Don't change for her, change for yourself so that you become the most attractive self again. I'm so afraid to apologize in relationships. I'm afraid that if I diss partners again, just can't accept it, but bullshit continues, can't be accepted. So maybe you have a history of apologizing and it ended up being not the way you anticipated it, right? And then so constantly when you do apologize, Don't be apologize and mean it. Hey, I'm sorry for doing certain things. These are when I did this is how did it was this how it made you feel, right? And then decide I'm going to change. This is going to change, and then mean it, right? Now, if they're only think about themselves, right? And they don't really care too much about, okay, maybe they just accept your apology, whatever, right? But you don't really change. What's going to really happen is, one, it's going to repeat itself. But let's just say you do apologize and you do mean it. And how they're going to anticipate or how they interpret it is, you know, maybe they're a little bit more hostile towards you again, right? Or the apology doesn't go the way you want it to be. Do it for yourself. Do it so that you could become better. Not just apologizing for that relationship, although you kind of want to repair it, right? You kind of want to rekindle that type of relationship to where it was again. Do it mainly for yourself. That's the best way that you could change for yourself, so that it no longer becomes a part of you. You're not run by those emotions. That's like, damn, I can't apologize. No, if you fucked up, apologize for it. And then you also want somebody that wants to apologize certain things too. Like, hey, you know what? I wasn't perfect either. You know, I shouldn't have yelled at you, and that I was a little upset, right? Whatever it is, right? Maybe it's couples that drinks a lot in settings, and they don't know how to control their alcohol, right? And be like, you know what? When I do drink, I get a little, you know, aggressive or whatever, right? So maybe I do have to put down that drink, you know, like drink something else. And be okay with it. It's not a lot. It's a lot, because who doesn't want to have fun? Who doesn't want that type of substance to make them have fun? But if you're constantly, like I said, displaying those type of behaviors, whether it's you're drunk or you're sober, people don't see the difference. It's like, dude, you just got to put down the drink. You really have to, right? So many people are like that, and it's kind of scary. It feels like it's so rare to find an honest, genuine person like myself. Makes it so hard to find a good fitting partner. Yeah, but it doesn't mean they're not out there. It doesn't mean they're not out there. It's just that it's harder to find, right? So think about it like this. The road less traveled is usually the place of where most people stop where they're at. Already it's 2 weeks in. The gym's gonna kind of die down, right? I saw a lot of new faces. I also see a lot of familiar faces. I saw faces a few years ago, right? Like, they're still there. They're still doing the exact same thing, right? They're working out. They're constantly there. Same time every day. New faces kind of fell off a little bit. And you can kind of see it, right? I've been doing this for years. I love doing this. I love working on myself, because at the end of the day, it's for myself. And also, the great thing about me talking about it is, it's not only am I helping other people, I'm reminding myself a lot of things too as well. So it's as great it is for you, it's amazing for me too, because I get to, like, damn, like, there's certain things that kind of gets forgotten through time, right? If I asked you what you ate last week, you probably had shit. I don't know, right? But if you continue, like, people always remember how you make them feel, right? And if you make them feel great, guess what? It's rewarding. And we're the type of people that wants rewards. You know what's really rewarding? It's the fact that not only when I do teach this, is number one, other people, they become better. So my circle expands a little bit more because they want to become better. But on top of that, it's more importantly, I'm becoming the person I naturally want to be too as well, right? Everything kind of reinforces each other. And when there's a community that wants to constantly become better, well, guess what? It's a lot easier. Your desired behavior becomes the norm, right? So talking about this, look, there's not a lot of people in here, and not a lot of people like to work on themselves. It's easier to have fun, but you're way more fun when you have your character, your attributes of you're fun and you're exciting. And not only that, when shit happens, you're like, hey, you know, it's okay. Like, you hold your composure. Those are the type of, and they can handle shit. Competency, right? So let's move on. I finished thinking about it is motion, right? Most people only operate from the motion. They're just doing motion. They're just moving. They're not doing things. Okay. Past trauma. Fourth slide. And it's usually because of past trauma, right? And I get it. And there's certain things you can feel bad about it for them. Nothing you could do for them. Okay. If someone has not have a lot, like they didn't really have a loving relationship, there's a big chance that they have not developed these type of skills to work on themselves. There's a big chance. Me personally, I didn't really grow up in a there was a lot of love. Okay. I can't say that there wasn't a lot of love. There was a lot of love, but love was displayed differently, right? The affection was through food, right? We could argue, but then like we just kind of ignore it and be like, you want to go eat, but never really apologize, never really acknowledge certain things, right? And because never really apologizing for certain things, well, guess what? Apologizing became difficult. Apologizing became this thing. It feels like it's very confrontational, whether it's with me or to the other person. Or when I do apologize and I don't expect an outcome for the other person, like, aren't you going to apologize back? It's like, then I'm setting an expectation. So then because of that, I take a step back. So now I didn't want to apologize. But then once I realized that the apology isn't really for them, it's really for myself. It's really for me to understand that, hey, I'm sorry that this was the person that I was. And I'm going to take a step back and apologize, and I'm not gonna operate from this anymore. I'm not gonna do this. And then you change, and then you constantly work towards that, right? So past trauma, they must participate in their own rescue, meaning they have to realize that they are flawed and they need to put in the work for themselves. They need to seek professional help. So this means that if they want to become better, they will need to find out what is wrong with them. So if you don't know, go speak to somebody, go talk to a professional, right? But here's the reality. Most people, most of the time, what they want to operate is from a place of least resistance. They make excuses rather than make time for themselves to become better, right? Most people won't spend the time on improving themselves. But if you think about it, they will make the time for a divorce lawyer. They will. Because they're like, well, I need to protect myself now. I need to protect myself, right? And there's situations in there. I can't say this for everybody. Absolutely not. But like most people, they don't really focus on themselves until shit really hits the fan and they're like, fuck, I need to change. It's like, kind of like, well, it's kind of late, right? So in reality, most people don't change. What you could do is change yourself, right? Don't sit down hoping that they will change, because most people won't. And if you see that they are trying, reward it with, you want to reward good behavior, right? So when hey, I've noticed that you're starting to do this and you're starting to do that, like it's really nice, right? Basically what you're saying is it's really attractive when you do certain things, when you do this, right? But also you want to trust it, but verify. Trust that they will continue to do what they are doing and becoming better at it, but verify through their actions and that they're actually doing it, right? And see how consistent they are. Consistency, okay? It's not about just showing up that one time and then going as aggressive and dedicated that one time. It's about consistency of showing up. Consistency that reaffirms your identity that, hey, I am a changed person and I'm going to be better. Okay. So the question is, are they really sticking to it, or is it just a facade so that they could, be on your good side, right? It's not about me trying to be on your good side. It's about me being a better person where I'm always on my good side. I'm always on my good side. So I'm not seeking the approval for other people. You're going to be like, damn, I really like this fucking person. This is who I'm attracted to because this is the person that he or she is. I like that, right? You're not changing for the other person. You see the difference? So I want to end it with this, which is just remember that it is not your job to change anybody. It is your job to become a better person and start aligning yourself with someone that matches your similar goals and similar values, right? If your goal is to become a better person and to have certain goals that you already kind of anticipated for yourself, you're going to seek that in other people too as well, right? So, quick summary, which is number one, first slide was it turns them off, right? You may have the luxury to treat others like this, but if you constantly display behaviors of incompetency in a relationship, there's no relationship that's going to be sustainable for you. You might have to find yourself constantly finding yourself in situations, right, where you have to kind of start all over again. And it's kind of sucks to keep starting over all the time, right? Sometimes you might have to, so that you can learn from it and don't repeat those mistakes. Eggshell relationship. Everyone has bad days, but there are certain people when they have bad days, it's like on steroids, right? It's like, holy shit, like, damn, you need help. I need to be away from you and you need help. Like, that's not very fun. No amount of goodness on your part will ever get them to change, and you shouldn't try to change anybody. You have to let her come back when she's ready, right? The mindset, like I said, is not to get her back. The mindset should be to become the most attractive self again, so that you can attract better people in your life. And if she decides to come back, great. You got what you want. Set a time, set a date, and then, show that you are a changed person, but not presenting it to her. And just be like, you are a changed person. How are you going to operate emotionally when you're always irrational, erratic, right? Argumentative. Yeah. How to take a step back, basically, right? Past traumas. Don't sit around hoping that they will change, because most people won't. If you see that they are changing, well, guess what? Reward it. Compliment it. Trust but verify. Trust that they will continue to do what they're doing, but verify through their actions. Are they consistent with it? Okay. And with that said, that is the end of my show today. Thank you all for watching. Really appreciate your time. Let me know what really kind of resonated with you, what really stood out, and what you are going to change yourself. Because look, you don't need a new year to change yourself, right? But what you can do is you can always improve, right? You can always improve yourself. So what's one area of your life right now that means something to you that you will want to change, or you want to see change? Give yourself a month and then look at it again. And I think that's a great way to kind of reflect, right? It's quantifiable. You can kind of look at it. That being said, I hope you guys enjoy your Saturday. Thank you for your time, and I catch you guys on my next live. All right, peace.